I have a sci-fi theory about time
Oh
travel.
boy.
I'm pretty sure I've told you
I don't think you have.
the idea of how moving forward in time is linear,
Oh
but
yeah.
moving backwards in time is actually it's not a straight line, rather it's a diagonal line. You're jumping into a parallel universe.
Huh.
Because the question is always the grandfather paradox, where if you
Yeah,
went
yeah,
back
yeah.
in time and killed your grandfather, what would happen?
Yeah.
If my idea, if you assume time is linear both forward and backward, if you kill your grandfather, it's a very unusual paradox. No one knows what happens because never born, you never went back, which
Yeah.
means you were born, which
Of
means,
course, of
it's a
course.
paradox. But with my theory of jumping backwards and going to a parallel universe that's identical to our own universe and our own universe's timeline, the only difference being that I'm now in that space and time at that current time whenever I went back. That's the only difference.
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, if I died, like everything would go as normal, but I'm there. So a butterfly effect will eventually happen.
Yeah. Totally true.
So theoretically, my idea should work because that would mean I'm still alive. Even if I kill my grandfather, I'm still alive because I'm in a different world. I'm in a different universe.
Well, your idea also is like the Hollywood version. That's like every Hollywood movie ever has used that idea
I
of
don't
time travel.
when they never elaborated on
I
it.
mean, no, it's kind of covert. It's inherent within the plot
No,
line
it's just bad
or
writing.
storyline.
It's just bad
It's
writing.
not bad writing. I mean, no, if someone's smart enough to understand like what you're talking about right now,
Which is
then
all
they
of our
can see
viewers
it.
because they're all very smart.
I hope that the
Pete,
people that are
they're
listening can
amazing,
understand what you're
super
saying.
duper awesome people. Thank you for listening.
No,
Like, comment, subscribe.
the way I see it, I don't see it as I don't know because I mean time to me could be another dimension just as height, length,
I don't
width.
like that notion of four dimensions. I hate it
Why?
because when you
By the
think
way, I'll have you guys know that Alex is I mean, we mentioned this last week, I think, but Alex is technically trained in mathematics, so
I did
proceed.
not theoretical physics, but I can
This
take a
is not
step.
necessarily theoretical physics. This is
We're talking
math right
about
here.
spatial dimensions and time.
Yes.
It's pretty physical.
Just continue.
Okay, so when you think of dimensions, I usually think of space. I think of
Yeah.
one dimension is like a dot
I
or a
mean, you ever heard
line.
of analytical geometry? That's definitely math.
Yeah, so theoretically you can do mathematics in four dimensions, five dimensions. You can do that. The math is already there. The problem is with the notion of time as being the fourth dimension is time is not a spatial dimension. It's its own thing, which is why the expression is space and time because time is separate
Well, space time. But
or
continue.
space time, yeah. But they're not the same. Space is what exists, and time is the concept of its existence.
Uh huh.
So the two are fundamentally different from one another. So I don't like tying them together in the sense that it's a dimension.
Well, did you ever think about time? Obviously, time is the medium through which we can observe all these things. But did you ever think that it's merely because we can observe it within the bounds of time that like the
We
best way
can't
I
observe time, Pete.
no
We
no
can
no
only
I'm
observe
saying you can
space.
yeah you can observe space within the bounds of time. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And
within
so
time.
what happens when time becomes unbounded?
What does that mean?
What like immortality? Like what happens when you're immortal? Or what happens when you have access to time travel?
What happens?
You are no longer bounded by time. And so it just becomes another dimension that
Oh,
you can move freely within whenever
so
you want.
dang it, Pete. You're
Ah!
making me question my own beliefs
I
now.
mean, think about it though.
Thinking about it. If I did theoretically have a time machine and I could go backwards, that's the thing, right?
You could go wherever you want.
No, but forward I feel should be pretty simple. Forward just means time continues to pass normally, with me just being absent from whatever the time is and reappearing in whatever future timeline I pick. But going to the past, to solve the paradox, my parallel theory would imply you are jumping to a separate time because it's not the same time anymore. You've transferred into a different time.
I mean, I'm not all against that. I actually I do believe in parallel universes, to be fair. We got super
Do
theoretical
you
here.
want do you want to
Let's
put
just take
our
like real before we continue, can we just take a step back and look at us right now having this
we
conversation?
were talking about like dopamine.
Dopamine
Now we're
fasting. We
talking
went
about
from there
parallel
to AI to
universes. It was only a matter of time, Pete, before we
anyways.
like talk about this.
Well, to be fair, like this is only the tip of the iceberg for what we can expand on this.
I
But
also
anyways, let's continue.
What were we talking about? Oh, right, traveling through time. What I don't time as a dimension still seems time is its
This is gonna
they need to
trouble you
create a
for a
new word
while.
for dimensions exclusively for time because I still don't like the word dimension used for time.
Well, I guess you can go and raise this point to every theoretical mathematician that is alive right now. Maybe
That
they
time
can do
should not
some
be a
work.
dimension.
Or rather, give them a reason why and why not time should be considered a dimension.
Well, what's the physics based definition of a dimension?
Anything, or I guess my interpretation would be anything through which either a body can propagate through. Space itself is something where matter or anything with mass, or maybe some things that don't have mass, I guess light for instance. That's a whole let's not go there.
Okay,
But
so a dimension is something that something can exist in. Is
yes,
an entity where
put simply.
where is light
Because
considered
the
matter?
mathematical definition of a dimension is just like, I mean, the way I think is r to the whatever.